On my wedding night, I walked in on my father's adopted son and my fiancée in our marital bed. When I confronted him, Carter, far from admitting his mistake, stabbed me and left me critically injured. The next time I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed. My childhood friend, Diana, a top-tier lawyer, was sitting beside me, her face stained with tears. "Don't you worry," she sobbed. "I'll make that bastard pay for this." Deeply moved, I entrusted the entire matter to her. Carter was sentenced to life in prison. After I was discharged from the hospital in Chicago, Diana proposed, her face full of joy. She said she wanted to mend the heartbreak I had suffered. We became the perfect couple, the envy of everyone, until I accidentally overheard her on the phone with Carter, the man who was supposed to be in prison for life. "You got me out of that mess, and then you married him for my sake. You've sacrificed so much. It's no sacrifice, not for you. I couldn't let you really rot in prison, and I couldn't stand the thought of you getting nothing after Grandpa passes away." It finally hit me. Her supposed love was nothing but a smokescreen for her calculations. If that was the truth, then I would just leave. "Diana, you've done so much for me. I'm the one who's sorry, making you endure this constant pain." I stood outside the door, listening to Carter's voice on the phone, and a cold dread washed over me. What? Was being married to me that painful for Diana? Something she had to constantly endure? I heard Diana's choked voice as she spoke. "Carter, it was Chloe who drugged and seduced you. I don't blame you. I married Frank so that you could have a better chance at inheriting the Harrison fortune." A tight, suffocating pain filled my chest. I clenched my fists, the memory of Diana's loving concern when I woke up in the hospital flashing in my mind. It was all fake. I knew from their call that Carter couldn't possibly be in prison. How would he have access to a phone? "Diana, just hang in there a little longer. We're almost through this," Carter said gently. I stumbled away from the door, feeling like a fugitive, unable to face the truth. The woman I had loved with all my heart for 3 years was telling me it was all a lie. How could I possibly accept that? A long while later, Diana finished her call and came downstairs. Seeing the numb expression on my face, she assumed I was just worried about my grandfather's health. Diana sat beside me, taking my hand gently and whispering words of comfort. "Honey, Grandpa's going to be okay." The scent of her perfume, once so comforting, now just made me feel sick. I instinctively pushed her away as she leaned in. "Frank." Diana looked at me with a flicker of confusion. Just as I was about to confront her, my phone rang. "Hello, is this Mr. Frank Harrison? Please come to the hospital immediately. Your grandfather is in critical condition." What's wrong with my grandpa?" I cried out in shock. The sudden, terrible news erased any thought of confronting Diana. I stumbled towards the door. "Honey, don't panic," Diana said. "I'll head over first and manage the situation. The others have probably gotten the news by now, too." Diana moved faster than I could. Ever since Carter injured my leg, my mobility has been limited. I watched as she grabbed her keys and bolted downstairs, clearly having no intention of waiting for me. If I didn't know the truth, I might have thought she was worried Grandpa would pass away suddenly with no one there to take control, allowing the vultures in our family to swoop in. But I knew the truth. She was rushing to pave the way for Carter. When Carter told her to hang in there a little longer, he meant waiting for Grandpa to die. Watching her car peel out of the driveway, I panicked. I dragged my injured leg to the street and hailed the first cab I saw. Even though I'd urged the driver to speed the entire way, I was still too late. I hadn't even gotten to see him one last time. When I burst into the room, his body was already covered by a white sheet. My mind went blank. I completely ignored the other 2 people in the room, Diana and Carter, who were putting on a show of wiping away tears, and rushed his bedside, collapsing over his body in tears. "Grandpa, why couldn't you just wait for me?" My vision blurred as a lifetime of memories flooded my mind. "Frank, I'm so sorry. Grandpa wouldn't want to see you like this." Diana came forward, dabbing at her eyes, but I shoved her away. "Don't touch me." Startled, she glanced helplessly at Carter, who was also making a show of wiping away tears. "Diana, it's understandable he can't accept it right now. Just give him some space," Carter said. Hearing his voice, I finally registered his presence, and my anger boiled over. "What are you doing here? You have a nerve to show your face?" Carter just shrugged and sighed. "Frank, can you calm down? Do we really have to fight in front of Grandpa? He wouldn't want this." I lunged forward and grabbed him by the collar. "If it wasn't for your disgusting behavior, Grandpa wouldn't have been so upset he ended up in the hospital in the first place. His health went downhill after that, and you have the audacity to be here." Diana cried out and grabbed my wrist. "Frank, it was me." As his lawyer, I pleaded with the police to make an exception and allow Carter to visit. Grandpa was already on his way out. "Don't make things worse." At Diana's insistence, I let go of Carter's collar, not yet ready to expose their lie. They were still keeping up the charade of his imprisonment, but Carter stood there in a tailored suit, not even a buzz cut. What kind of prison visit was this? But that was a minor detail. There were more important things to deal with. I closed my eyes, forcing myself to calm down, then turned to Diana. The will? Was Grandpa's lawyer here when he passed? Diana, her face a mask of sorrow, replied. His lawyer couldn't make it in time. At the very end, he asked me to act as his legal representative. I scoffed internally. I knew she'd have an excuse. Her rushing out of our home in Beverly Hills without me was all so she could be the first one here. With just her and Carter in the room, they could manipulate the legal process. No matter what my grandfather's true wishes were, Diana could twist them into whatever she wanted. I never imagined her title as a top lawyer would be used as a weapon against me. Just then, Carter, with a catch in his voice, produced a document. Before he died, Grandpa gave his last will and testament to me. What the hell are you talking about? I'm his grandson. He'd give it to you, his adopted son, instead of me. The claim was so absurd that I flew into a rage, lunging at him with my fist raised. Frank, please. I'm begging you, calm down. It's the truth. Diana threw herself in front of me, holding me back with all her might, the words spilling from her mouth as if she'd rehearsed them 100 times. Grandpa stipulated that 70% of the estate goes to his adopted son, Carter. The remaining 30% is to be donated to charity. He was just crying, saying how guilty he felt about Carter's imprisonment. After all, he raised him. This inheritance is his way of making amends. I shook her off, managing to regain a sliver of composure. But when I saw the smug satisfaction hiding behind Carter's feigned look of sorrow, my anger surged again. That's bullshit. After what happened, Grandpa was screaming about disowning Carter. He said he regretted ever taking him in. What guilt? Why would he give him a dime? If you're going to lie, at least make it believable. I refused to believe the will was real and started cursing Carter out again. The situation was about to explode. That's enough. A sharp crack echoed in the room. Diana had slapped me across the face, and the shock of it silenced me. The slap was hard. My head snapped to the side, and I could feel the stinging pain on my cheek. Diana had clearly done it, because she was terrified I would reveal more details about what really happened 3 years ago. She looked at me, her face a picture of disappointment. Frank, I am so disappointed in you. I always thought you were the devoted one, but the moment he's gone, you're the one ignoring the evidence and obsessing over the will. I stared at her self-righteous expression, the absurdity of it all making me furious. Obsessing? It's because that inheritance is mine. I am the firstborn son of the Harrison family. You think you could just show up with a fake will, flap your gums, and make it real? That thumbprint was probably still wet when you brought it in here. Diana stumbled back, her eyes filling with tears, as if in disbelief. You won't even trust my word as a lawyer? You don't even trust me? Frank, we've been married for 3 years. It makes me wonder if you ever loved me at all. I glared at her, my anger burning. Diana, can you even say that with a straight face? Whether I love you, have you ever, for 1 second, loved me? As I spoke, my gaze shifted to Carter. If I hadn't been monitoring Grandpa's condition daily for months, knowing his time was short, I would have suspected them of foul play. Diana met my cold stare, her own eyes still filled with that same look of disappointment. Just then, the rest of the Harrison relatives began to arrive. After my parents died in a car crash, these vultures had circled, eyeing the family fortune, only backing off slightly after Grandpa adopted Carter. Grandpa's intention had been to raise an ally for me, but Carter was always more trouble than he was worth, a classic spoiled rich kid. If Carter hadn't pulled that stunt on my wedding night, Grandpa would have ensured he lived a comfortable life. But his greed knew no bounds. Well, Grandpa must have had his reasons. One of my uncles chimed in. Frank, what's all this shouting about? Soon, the other relatives joined in, all directing their criticism at me. From their point of view, the family money was better off in the hands of a brainless, spoiled brat like Carter than with me, the capable firstborn. It would be easier to manipulate him. Of course, the idiot Carter was completely oblivious to this. He just stood there with a pained expression, clutching the will. Frank, it's just an inheritance. Here, you can have it. Consider it my way of repaying Grandpa for raising me all these years, he declared, making a show of trying to write my name on the will. No, Carter, that's not how inheritance works. The room erupted in murmurs. A flash of panic crossed Diana's face as she lunged forward and snatched the will from him. She turned to me, her expression cold. Frank, when are you going to stop this? The will clearly names Carter. It's legally binding. Him changing it now means nothing. I looked at the flimsy piece of paper in her hand, with its single thumbprint and not even a signature from my grandfather, and I almost laughed. The real will was probably hidden away somewhere, or more likely, already torn to shreds. Seeing my silence, Diana must have mistaken it for remorse. She pressed on, "Why are you so obsessed with the money? Did your love for Grandpa mean less than this?" Carter immediately turned to my grandfather's body with a sorrowful expression. "Grandpa, your own grandson is being disrespectful. Don't worry, I'll be the son to you that he isn't." That was all the relatives needed to hear. They pounced, putting me on trial right there in the hospital room. "So disrespectful. No wonder Grandpa left you nothing. Just look at the greedy look on your face." I watched them twist the truth, watched Diana, who no longer even bothered to hide her true allegiance, and a profound weariness washed over me. After a long silence, I spoke, my voice hoarse. "Forget it. I have nothing more to say." I turned and walked out of the room. "Frank, you need to be alone for a few days and calm down," Diana called after me, her tone sharp. "When you're ready to stop acting insane, we can talk." I ignored her, just as I ignored the whispers of my relatives. In the days that followed, I didn't see Diana at all. I arranged and held my grandfather's funeral alone. Neither she nor Carter showed up. It was laughable. They had accused me of being a bad son, yet they couldn't even be bothered to attend his funeral. Though they didn't show up, Carter made sure to send me plenty of photos via iMessage, pictures of them taking over the Harrison family businesses. Watching those two outsiders dismantle my family's legacy piece by piece was gut-wrenching. I've been busy helping Carter with the legal transition. As the witness and acting attorney at the time of Grandpa's death, "I really can't get away," was the only message I received from Diana. After that, my calls and texts went unanswered. Now that Carter had the inheritance, everyone conveniently forgot about him returning to prison to serve his sentence. Their plan had worked perfectly, and they weren't even bothering to act anymore. That day, I returned home only to be met by officers from a court. "Excuse me, Mr. Harrison," one of them said. "This property was registered under your grandfather's name. The new heir, Mr. Carter Harrison, is restructuring the assets, and we've been ordered to repossess the house." "But this is my home." I frowned, but the officer impassively produced the original deed, showing my grandfather's name. "You have 3 days to vacate the premises, or we will be forced to take further action." After they left, I stood there, looking at the home I'd shared with Diana for 3 years, a profound sense of despair washing over me. She wasn't even willing to let me keep our home. Was she that desperate to be with Carter? My calls to Diana went straight to voicemail. With no other choice, I moved into a small rental apartment. "Frank, I'm so sorry. I just heard what happened," Diana said a few days later, standing in my tiny apartment, her face a mask of guilt. I stared at her, as if she were a stranger, then gave a humorless smile. "Really? You were helping with legal procedures for weeks? My calls wouldn't go through, and you blocked me on iMessage." Diana's expression faltered before she sighed. "It couldn't be helped, Frank. I hope you can respect Grandpa's wishes." Just then, Carter arrived. He looked around my apartment and let out a condescending laugh. "Well, brother, I never thought I'd see you living in a dump like this." With no one else around, he dropped the act completely. Looking at the two of them, so determined to leave me with nothing, a strange calm settled over me. At least now I knew their true colors. The next time Diana left with Carter, I left the signed divorce papers on the table and walked out for good. As soon as they were out of the apartment complex, Diana leaned over and kissed Carter, making no effort to hide their intimacy. "Carter, why did you have to provoke him like that? It's a good thing he didn't lose it like he did at the hospital, or things would have gotten ugly again." Unfazed by her mild rebuke, Carter wrapped an arm around her waist and scoffed. "What's the matter? Feeling sentimental? Don't tell me you actually fell for him during these past 3 years. You're not hoping for an amicable split now, are you?" A flicker of something unreadable crossed Diana's face before she quickly shook her head. "Of course not. It's just that, if Frank weren't your rival, he's actually not a bad guy." Carter, however, had no patience for this and cut her off. "Forget about him. Are you sure this what you drafted is complete? I feel like some of the companies I remember are missing from the asset list." Diana's brow furrowed slightly. "That's impossible. I've tracked all the Harrison family assets for the last 3 years. You're probably thinking of businesses Grandpa forgot to list, or ones that have closed down." Carter seemed to consider this for a moment, but they both quickly dismissed the thought. As they got into the car, Diana spoke up again, hesitating. "Carter, are you really going to leave Frank with absolutely nothing?" Carter paused with the key in the ignition, turning to look at her with a sharp gaze. "That's right. Why should I give him anything?" "Diana, you've been acting strange. Don't tell me you've actually developed feelings for him." Diana immediately waved her hands, shaking her head frantically. Carter, no, of course not. It's always been you. I wouldn't have done any of this if it wasn't for you. Satisfied with her answer, Carter started the car without another word. That evening, Diana returned to the apartment, bringing some of Frank's favorite takeout. A part of her felt a pang of guilt, but she pushed it down. There was nothing to be done. It was Carter she loved. When she arrived at the door of the rental apartment, she realized she didn't have a key. This wasn't their downtown penthouse anymore. After their unpleasant encounter earlier, Frank hadn't given her one. Frank, are you home? Can you open the door? She knocked gently. When there was no answer after several minutes, a chilling thought crept into her mind. Frank rarely went out because of his leg. Now, after losing everything, could he have done something drastic? A fear unlike any she'd ever known seized her. She frantically called a number on a locksmith's ad posted in the hallway and had someone come to open the door immediately. Frank! She burst into the apartment, only to find it completely empty. There was no sign of anyone living there. Even the few boxes Frank had brought with him that morning were gone. Frank, where are you? Diana called out, a desperation in her voice. She didn't recognize herself. She searched every room, but there was no sign of him. Finally, on the kitchen table, she saw it, signed divorce papers and his wedding ring. You want a divorce? In that moment, Diana felt a sharp pain in her chest, as if she'd been stabbed. A bitter emptiness filled her, forcing her to confront a feeling she had long denied. Her vision blurred with tears, and she blinked in confusion. Why was she crying for Frank? She had never loved him, had she? Diana wept in silent despair for a long time before trying to console herself. A divorce was for the best. It was just the shock of it. Now she could finally be with Carter. She should be happy. She repeated this to herself, not even realizing how hollow the words sounded. The next day, she was distracted and distant with Carter. Diana? You just zoned out, Carter noted. Faced with his questioning, she just mumbled an excuse. It's nothing. I'm not feeling well today. Carter frowned at her for a moment before letting it go. They eventually located the company that had been missing from the will, the one Carter had been curious about. Standing before a massive, modern office tower in downtown Los Angeles, Carter was stunned and delighted to see how large the enterprise had become. He strode past the reception desk, barged into the chairman's office, and announced, "Excuse me, now that Mr. Harrison Sr. is gone, I'm here to take over." But when he saw the person sitting in the executive chair, the color drained from his face. His voice cracked as he yelled, "Frank, what are you doing here?" Seeing them barge into my office so brazenly after all this time, I felt a flicker of annoyance. "I'm the chairman of this company. Why wouldn't I be here?" I said, leaning back in my leather chair, my expression hardening. Carter was incredulous. "How was that possible? Are you defying Grandpa's will?" Diana, equally stunned to see me, quickly composed herself and spoke in a tone of feigned concern. "Frank, please stop this. Don't make things difficult for Carter. Just respect Grandpa's last wishes. I'm a lawyer, Frank. If you try to illegally occupy this company, it won't end well for you." I just shrugged, studying both of their faces. "The will? What a joke," I said. "Do you have any idea why this company wasn't on Grandpa's list of assets?" Carter snapped back. He probably just forgot. What other reason could there be? He was old. It's perfectly normal to miss a thing or two. Diana quickly agreed. "Yes, that has to be it. Otherwise," I finished her sentence for her. "Otherwise it wouldn't make any sense, right? That an asset this large wouldn't be specifically mentioned." Carter was still processing this. I stood up, leaning across my desk towards him. "It's because Grandpa transferred ownership of this entire corporation to me years ago," I said, my voice sharp. "The assets in his will were the minor ones. He was just helping me manage this place, earning a little extra for his retirement. That's why it's not on your list." "What? That's impossible," Diana exclaimed, her face paling, though her eyes still held a trace of disbelief. I clapped my hands, and my company's legal team entered the office. My legal team was efficient. They presented the contracts, transfer deeds, and even video recordings of my grandfather signing everything over to me. Diana and Carter stumbled forward to look. It was all there, legally airtight, complete with signatures and notarizations. Grandpa had always known Carter was incompetent and greedy. While he was still healthy, he had transferred all the important family holdings to me as a precaution. I turned to Diana. "Diana, you're a lawyer. You know better than anyone there's no benefit in trying to illegally seize this property, right?" Carter turned to look at Diana, who stood pale and silent for a long moment before finally nodding. "He's right. This is legally Frank's property. It has nothing to do with Grandpa's estate." Carter exploded. "Are you fucking kidding me?" Carter lunged and grabbed my collar, and I met him with a solid punch to the jaw. As Diana screamed, I tackled him to the ground and laid into him. Who's kidding who? My grandfather treated you like a son, and this is how you repay him? Carter, you don't even deserve the Harrison name. Who the hell are you to point a finger at me? I've let you get away with too much. Stop it. Stop. Diana cried, pulling me off him with all her strength. Carter staggered to his feet, groaning, and looked like he was about to come at me again, just as my building security guards rushed in. He glared at me. This isn't over. Surrounded by security, Carter didn't dare make another move. He spat a mouthful of blood onto the carpet, shot me a hateful look, and stormed out, kicking the door on his way. I wrenched my arm from Diana's grasp. You two, get out. I don't want to look at you right now. Frank, you knew, didn't you? Diana didn't move, her eyes red as she stared at me. I feigned ignorance, tilting my head. Knew what? She studied my face, searching for a crack in my facade, but found nothing. If you didn't know, you wouldn't have hidden all this from me, she finally said. When we came up, I saw a notice that your legal department is hiring, and you said nothing. Did you ever trust me at all? Seeing her act as if I were the one who had deceived and betrayed her, I almost laughed out loud. How could she possibly have the audacity to think she was the victim here? It wasn't that I never trusted her. It was that she had been playing me for a fool from the very beginning. I shook my head, a bitter edge to my voice. No, Diana, I didn't tell you because you worked so hard. I didn't want to burden you with more stress. A flicker of genuine emotion crossed her face, and for a moment, she was speechless. Then my tone shifted. But now, you've disappointed me more than I can say. Yes, I know everything. And the thought that I lived with you for 3 years makes me sick to my stomach. Her lips tightened, and her shame turned to anger. I did it for love. What would you know about that? It's always been Carter. Her anger fueled my own. And what about me? What was I to you, Diana? Search your conscience. Was I not good to you for these past 3 years? Good enough for you to conspire with Carter to destroy me? She had never heard me speak to her with such fury, and she fell silent for a long moment. Frank, it's no use saying any of this now. I'm with Carter. We're finished. I allowed a cold laugh. You think you finally won your great love? Do you want to know where your beloved Carter is right now? Diana frowned. I had my driver pull the car around and gestured for her to get in. Come with me. It's time you saw your true love for who he really is. After a moment's hesitation, she got in the car. We drove in silence. The car sped through the city and stopped outside an exclusive private club. My assistant was waiting and led us upstairs to a private suite. Seeing Diana's confused expression, I motioned for her to look through the crack in the door. Inside, there were 2 people. The man was Carter. The woman was Chloe, my former fiancée, the one I hadn't seen in 3 years. Diana's eyes widened, and her hand clenched on the doorknob. Chloe was dabbing ointment on the cuts on Carter's face, her voice full of distress. Carter, you haven't actually fallen for Diana, have you? What about me? I've been waiting for you all this time. Carter winced, but managed to smile, taking her hand and kissing her fingertips. Chloe, baby, how could I ever fall for her? I swear, I was only using Diana to get the Harrison fortune. Having an ace attorney on your side for something like this is just too convenient. At his words, Chloe wrapped her arms around him, her voice thick with tears. When will this be over? I'm so tired of hiding. It's all Diana's fault. Carter grumbled, patting her back. She couldn't even handle this one simple thing properly. Useless. I glanced at Diana. She was pale and trembling. For a fleeting moment, I felt a pang of pity for her. How could someone so brilliant professionally be so completely blinded by love? Only she would have been naive enough to believe Carter's lie about Chloe drugging him. As Carter and Chloe grew more intimate, Diana could take no more. She threw the door open, her eyes blazing with fury. What are you doing? Carter jumped, startled, and instinctively pushed Chloe away. Diana? What are you doing here? A sharp slap echoed through the room. Diana, shaking with rage, had struck Carter across the face. She pointed a trembling finger at Chloe. Why are you with her? You told me you were forced. Carter, have you ever told me the truth about anything? You bastard. I'll kill you. Realizing the jig was up, Carter dropped all pretense. That's right. About the will now, I don't need you anymore. Diana, you didn't actually believe I liked you, did you? Grow up. You. Diana lunged at him again, but he grabbed her wrist and shoved her to the floor. He then looked at me, standing in the doorway, and sneered. You didn't have it so bad for 3 years, Frank. Diana's a beautiful woman, and even better in bed. Just yesterday, your brilliant lawyer was on her knees, begging me not to leave her. Maybe I should be thanking you. Before I could even react to his taunt, Diana screamed from the floor. Shut up. Just shut up. She was finally seeing Carter for the monster he was, her face a mask of fury and tears. The air was thick with tension. I crouched down beside Diana, and spoke softly. Diana, do you want to make him pay? Carter froze, his brow furrowed. Diana looked up at me, her voice trembling with pure hatred as she nodded. What can I do? I'll do anything to get revenge on him. Anything. I nodded. It's simple. All you have to do is testify that the will was a forgery. Carter's face went white, but he quickly recovered with a sneer. She won't do it. Diana, if you do that, you're an accomplice. You'd be throwing away your entire career. You have such a bright future. Why ruin it over this? Diana slowly got to her feet. After a long, silent moment, she turned to me, tears streaming down her face. Frank, I know I was wrong. I'm so sorry. I just have to ask, if I do this, is there any chance you could forgive me? I considered her for a moment, then met her hopeful gaze and said quietly, that depends on how far you're willing to go, Diana. That was all she needed to hear. Her spine straightened as she turned to glare at Carter with pure venom. In that case, I will testify that the will is a forgery. Carter couldn't believe what he was hearing. He scrambled towards her, panicking. Diana, you can't. What will happen to me? I've worked so hard for this. I was wrong, okay? I was wrong. Get away from me. Diana shoved him away and walked out. Nothing Carter said after that, not even his promises to dump Chloe and be with her, could change her mind. Chloe, having now heard that Carter and Diana had been sleeping together, slapped him hard across the face and stormed out as well. Diana, Carter yelled, ignoring the departing Chloe and trying to run after Diana. But my security guards tackled him and pinned him to the floor. I made sure he got the beating he deserved before having him thrown out into the alley behind the club. True to her reputation as a top lawyer, Diana had a complete case file with all the necessary evidence compiled by that afternoon. While Carter was still moaning in the alley, the police arrived before the paramedics and took him into custody. After a lengthy investigation, the forgery was confirmed and all of my grandfather's true assets were legally returned to me. You two animals. I'll get you for this. Especially you, Diana. You bitch. You'll rot in hell. Carter was still screaming threats as they locked him away, but no one was listening. Soon after, Diana was incarcerated as well. When I visited her, she looked at me through the partition glass, her eyes filled with a desperate hope. Frank, I was only an accomplice. They only gave me 20 years. With good behavior, I could be out in 18. We could be together then, right? I listened as she excitedly painted a picture of our wonderful future together after her release. Then I coldly shook my head. Diana, I'm never going to be with you. It was impossible when you were an ace attorney, and it's certainly impossible now that you're a convicted felon. She stared at me, stunned, before finally whispering, what? I leaned closer to the glass and let a slow, cold smile spread across my face. I never promised I would forgive you. From the moment I found out why you were really with me, we were already over. Her eyes widened in disbelief. It took a moment for the reality to sink in, and then she erupted. You bastard. You lied to me. How could you lie to me? She shot up from her chair, screaming, and lunged at the glass, her handcuffs rattling. Do you have any idea what I gave up? I ruined my future. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Watching her unravel, I finally felt the sweet satisfaction of revenge. I turned and walked away. Get back here. Come back. Diana's shouts continued behind me, eventually turning into sobs as the guards restrained her. She screamed that I was a monster, but what they had done was far more monstrous. I left the prison, got in my car, and drove to the cemetery. I told my grandfather everything that had happened. A blade of grass by his headstone swayed in the breeze, as if he were nodding in approval. It was time for me to finally leave the past behind and start my new life.